Greetings programs and welcome back to CK2 after another bit of a gap, but then well, I don't really have any excuses, to be honest. It's just other stuff kept bumping CK2 down, and CK2 videos are always a bit more time involved, so yeah, it's very easy to displace them and think, oh, I'll just do a short tanks replay or something instead. But no, enough procrastinating. We're here now in 1304, so yes, how time flies. Right, so first order of business is we have this little rebellion in France, and I think I said last time I wasn't going to bother, but I think on reflection I am going to bother. The other thing is, and before we unpause it, we'll actually take a little look in Scotland itself. Somebody mentioned in the comments that I haven't mentioned the Buchanans in a while. And, well, that's because most of the Buchanans aren't actually in Scotland anymore. There's the Duke of Dublin here, or the Duke of Meath rather, who is currently in prison, and he does have a son. So if we can reintegrate Ireland, which I sincerely hope we can, that is, you know, we will definitely take the Duchy of Meath off him, because we can't be having Buchanans that have any significant amount of lands. But there is also a Buchanan that's left within Scotland itself. So this is the branch, this is the troublesome branch. So he's actually the son of the previous Buchanan King of Scotland too, and then I think it was Simon Buchanan that was King of Scotland and Scotland too for a time, before the MacJedis were able to take their rightful place back on the throne. But there is one Buchanan left in Scotland, and I think it's, here we go, Earl Simon of Atholl. He is not my vassal directly, but we could maybe arrange to have him bumped off. Unfortunately, he does have heirs, but it's a regular marriage. So it's going to be Dunbars that eventually inherit that. It's just we could, you know, maybe speed up the process a bit. Now, he's 49 already. He's not that old. But the main problem is my sort of options for actually assassinating him are quite limited. I can basically hit this assassinate button and it's going to cost me 150 gold. And with only a 20% chance of success, yeah, there's a very high probability it will go wrong. I can also plot to kill him. But this may well have even less success, because there's very little initial plot power, and there's not a lot of people I can invite to this plot, and none of them actually do want to join. So yeah, this is not ideal, but you know, this is a Buchanan I can potentially bump off right now. Hell, I could bump off that Buchanan down there, but I don't want to mess up things for Scotland too, potentially. So anyway, yeah, we've started that plot going, so we'll just let that tick in the background for a little while we concentrate on the main thing of this episode, which is going to be, at least to start with, dealing with these filthy French rebels. So the force that they've got is actually somewhat substantial, and I don't have a lot of local forces that I can raise. I'm actually going to bring the couple of hundred I can muster into Paris, and then I'm going to see if I can't send my own troops down to Paris. So the easiest, quickest, cheapest thing is probably just to send the retinues down, which we actually need to make sure they have some generals in there. And I'm going to need to raise some troops of my own, in fact. So if I say raise the levies, oh, that's the wrong mouse button. So that's 1,000 there. What about Cumberland? Okay, I think altogether this should be enough, because the rebels are generally not that well organised. So the next thing is to organise some boats. And what I might do here is this the right? Oh yes, no, of course you can't directly see your. Yes, this is one of the slight deficiencies of the UIs. It's actually quite hard to see who has how many boats, but we're going to raise the boats of Dumfries, who there we go, that's more than enough boats. So we'll sail them around there and get everybody on board, and we're just trading off the fact that the current Grand Mayor really does like me, so we can afford to get a little negative ticking relation with him. So, having unpaused, of course, we've got the usual Tanistry messages. Also have a quick look at the technology screen. I don't think there's really many... no, religious customs and shipbuilding, so neither of those are really a high priority. Should probably just check how we're doing generally as well. 5,000. Yeah, I think we were... Yeah, we were improving Margaret's martial skill, and she can get one more martial before we can't improve it anymore. So, you know, +8 martial's not bad, but it could be better. We might want to maybe have a go at getting High Crown Authority in this episode as well. We'll see. We'll have a look at how we're doing in terms of popularity. Now, I'm not 100% sure I can even land these troops. I don't know. Because these guys can walk through Aquitaine without any problem at the moment. Because we're not at war or anything, and we're not hostile to each other. But I'm not sure if that also works for me being able to land troops from boats. Also, I've just realised, if you're wondering why there was a slight pause there, I forgot to turn off autosave, which kind of messes up when we're recording, so we're going to turn that off. Yes, I've actually got a little thing, a little note in the CK2 like project folder or whatever you want to call it, where I keep all the CK2 Jedi related stuff. I've got little notes that says turn off autosaving, but I clearly forgot to do so this time. Normally I do actually remember. Anyway, so yes, we can in fact bring these troops ashore. We'll dismiss the boats for now, because we can. There's no real point to keeping them hanging around in the Strait of Dover. I mean, it's not costing me anything, apart from the goodwill of my vassal. Which, yeah, I mean, he's 64. He could, oh, 65 now. He could pop his clogs at any moment, pretty much. So, I don't want to push my luck too much, because the next guy might come in and have like -50 opinion. So, they're nearly there. Oh, well, they're not actually quite in York yet. There we go. Disband them. Now we should be able to tackle this rebel army relatively comfortably with over 1,000 troop advantage. We've got about 1,200 more troops than they do. What's the terrain like? Okay, there's no river crossing between Dijon and Chalon, so that's fine. And the actual terrain itself, I think, is just like grasslands, plains. So they won't have any defensive advantages. We can basically just march straight in there. And as they're a peasant army, I don't think they're that great. Yeah, just mostly light infantry, archers, and a bit of light cavalry. And we've got a real mix of everything, pretty much. So this should go okay. It's about 2,000 plus troops per flank. So we don't have any particularly weak flanks. We've got decent generals on all flanks, although there's a bit of a drop-off. My top 2 martial score, people that I can use as generals, are really good, and then the next, you know, the third guy is like 9, which is not that great. It's kind of averagely decent. Oh, we do actually have a river crossing penalty. I could have sworn... Oh, wait, it does say Chalon. Oh, I missed that. Oops. Never mind. Doesn't matter. We should beat them anyway. It's, yeah, -10% to attack and defense for probably the bulk of my troops. Actually, no, maybe more like 15% for the bulk of my troops, just looking at the numbers there. Anyway. Oh, I guess England won their war against Scotland. Yeah, there's a Ulster is attacking Scotland 2 at the moment. England was at war with Scotland 2, so Scotland 2's lost most of the territory that I was able to get in England. So that's not going so well. Scotland 2's being slowly forced back to pretty much just Wales. Not Wales, Scotland. Scotland 2, aka Ireland. Well, that took a couple of goes before I got it right. That's the filthy rebels just about beaten. Yeah, we've pretty much got this. Now, I did look at the ledger and look at England's current strength versus my current strength and what I can muster. I think, I mean, I've got my Chancellor fabricating a claim on Lincoln, and I mean, Margaret's still relatively young. She's only 45, so there's a pretty decent chance that we will get that in time to press it within her lifetime. And the thing with claims like that as well is it's possible to pass them on to whoever comes afterwards via oh, we just lost the Chancellor. Oh, never mind. If you press the claim and lose the war, because you've pressed the claim in a war, that then passes on down to your heir. But I'm not sure. Like, it definitely will with a primogeniture, you know, a direct lineage-based succession. But I'm not sure if it does with Tanistry. It might pass to Margaret's children rather than to the Tanist. So that, you know, that's a possibility, but I don't know if it's particularly a good possibility. Anyway, so I've appointed my husband as the Chancellor, who is, oh, he's currently leading troops. I just double click that button, we can get him back, and then we'll send him to Lincoln and see what happens. So one more fight and we will have the rebels completely beaten. We've got 91% war score there. Not sure what the where are they marching to? These Castilian troops. I don't know, they seem to be involved in various wars at the moment. So we've beat the filthy rebels, which was actually fairly easy as it turned out. And what we can do is we can chop his head off. Who is this? Doesn't even have a surname. He's just a communal garden peasant who decided to rebel against the might of Scotland, and yeah, cost me a little bit of piety, but that's fine. So perish all enemies of Scotland. Well, not quite all enemies, sadly. There are still one or two. Anyway, so we can speed this up maybe a little bit. We'll disband the non-retinue troops, march them back to the coast, and we'd better have somebody waiting there for them. So if we once again raise up the boats from Dumfries, and that should be that. Now, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this because we do currently have a McJedi on the throne of Scotland too. Although I made a discovery that, yeah, the mother of the Queen of Scotland too was in fact a Buchanan. There are Buchanans now. You know, the DNA has intermingled, which is a little worrying, but there's not a lot we can do about it at this stage. So yes. Yes, it's not quite as bad as discovering there's a caption guy that's married into the tree, but once these went beyond my direct control, you know, they can start making their own marriages and whatever, and stuff like this can happen. So, yes, that's a bit unfortunate, but there's not a lot we can do about it. I mean, we could just, like, assassinate that entire branch of the McJedi family, but that seems a bit harsh. So, oh, court chaplain. Who was he to the family? I don't even know. He was one of the Irish branch. There's so many McJedis now. Bishop of Carlisle, and he wants to be court chaplain, so he will bump up by 1, which is quite useful. And did I have him doing anything? Maybe researching cultural tech? I could always send him to proselytize in Paris, which is currently Orthodox. Yeah, it's still the Orthodox Metropolitan of Paris, but his successor is a good Catholic. Well, he might not be a good Catholic, but he's a Catholic. So, yeah, that's fine. Right, this is my son and daughter, so I actually want to make sure they get educated by somebody. Oh, I can always educate them both myself, actually. I don't think I'm educating anybody at the moment. This is still the version of the game where you have to be careful about educating too many people yourself, because you end up with... Wait, how is she... I don't know. Oh, because Margaret herself was Orthodox when she came to the throne, and I guess we haven't asked her to convert. There we go. How about the rest of the kids? Yes, that must have been after we converted. Right, there we go. Yeah, let's not make things messy by having more Orthodox Jedis around the place. So, we're doing all right economically as ever. That's one thing we've always, like, whatever other travails we've had as Scotland, we've always done very well for ourselves monetarily. So, I think it's time to actually invest in somewhere. Let's see what we've got and what we could upgrade. Well, castle walls in Borough will do that. Mitford still has nothing. Dagobah, which was the barony in Ross, that's got rather... Yeah, let's upgrade the fort level there. Castle McJedi itself is fine. What about Tain? Maybe the training grounds in Tain. There we go. So that's a big chunk of cash spent. We're still sitting on a nice pile. Hopefully sufficient to fabricate a claim on Lincoln if need be. Although I think... Do we still have a truce period with... I'm not sure that we do. I think we might now be out of truce with England. Although we have a very healthy minus 100% war score at the moment. So that's fine. We might be skipping on a bit here. There's not a lot going on otherwise at the moment. We could have a little look around the rest of the world while there's not that much doing. Well, first off, let's have a look at how the Republic is doing. Well, the Hansas are really starting to push down on the North Sea coast, but we do have most of the coast of Britain under the control of the trade posts of the Grand Republic of Dumfries. So we're generating lots of money for me. Longobardia is pushed out a bit as well, so they're not doing too badly. Yeah, I don't think there's much else that's new. I mean, the Iberian Peninsula is still a big mess. There's all kinds of internal rebellions and little wars going on there. The HRE is quite stable at the moment. They've been fairly stable for a little while, as have Byzantium. Don't think they've had any major upsets for a little while. Yeah, I think there's been relatively few kind of big upsets recently, so it's all relatively calm in Europe at the moment, which is sort of unusual, because if you look at just the history of Europe for the last like 1,500 years, lots and lots of wars, big and small, but usually somebody was at war somewhere over something. And oh, I've actually finished that already. Let's improve the castle walls there as well. So yeah, let's skip ahead here. There's not a lot interesting happening at the moment, and maybe we might persuade somebody to join the plot, but it's not looking good. We might have to pay out some bribes. And even if we bribed everybody, I don't know if we could reach 100% with that plot, because I don't think Margaret's not got a good intrigue score at all. Anyway, so yes, we'll come back in just a moment, and hopefully something interesting will have happened. Well, I guess you could call this interesting. Yeah, we've had a host war declared. Basically, an adventuring, far-flung McJedi, a Castilian McJedi, from the court of... oh, he's the son of Emrys. I'm not sure how where he's come from exactly, but if I had to guess, like one of these various little courts down here. I'm not sure how he's ended up down there, but yeah, as he's a McJedi, he's got a weak claim on the kingdom, and he's decided to show up with a bunch of troops. But I don't know. This shouldn't be a problem. I think maybe we're gonna march my my retinue up to the Western Isles anyway. We've also got wow, that's actually a pretty sizable army. We've also got a minor war going on where the Grand Mayor of Dumfries is actually pressing the claim on. We're just going to go with North Wales. I cannot do that justice. But yes, because they have a city there, the city of, I believe it was Denbigh. Yes. They can then, once they have a city, it's a thing you can do as a merchant republic. You can basically grab a city, and then once you've grabbed the city, you can press a claim for the whole county. It's a bit of a slow, laborious process, but it's one of the ways in which you can expand your coastal holdings. So they've decided to do that against the Duke of Gwynedd, or the Petty Kingdom of Gwynedd, which is currently it's ruled by somebody not a McJedi, but the heir is a McJedi, and it's the Count of Ulster, who is currently in jail. From I don't know why he's in jail, why his whoever that is in relation to him has imprisoned him, but who knows? The internal family politics for the McJedis are a little bit tangled at this point. Anyway, the Burghers of Rost demand that city law be set higher than canonical law. Okay, so it's this one. Well, we'll side with the mayor rather than the not mayor, which is a bit as both the city of Dingwall and the bishopric of Rosemarkie are under the Kingdom of Scotland too anyway. I'm not sure why they'd be getting annoyed with me, but whatever. That is a sizable army. That must... Let's have a look. Are they hiring mercenaries? Or is that... Because if that's all the troops they can muster themselves... and bear in mind, as a vassal merchant republic, there will be like the mansion, like the personal holdings of the different patrician families. Anyway, so yeah, still that's a pretty substantial army. Let's not get them pissed off with us. Also, there is a new Grand Mayor. Do they hate me? No, fortunately they do not. This is Mayor Waldeave, who, yeah, he's rather old himself, but quite likes me. You tend to get old mayors. It's hard to get a young mayor without spending a lot of money when you're playing as a Grand Republic, because it's weighted by age. So the older the character is, the more kind of score they accrue naturally in terms of their... possibility of actually getting elected. Anyway, we need a new steward, so let's go with he should end up being the same. He's an honest steward, which is always quite nice, but he'd be a just steward. Let's go with the honest steward, who actually wants to be a steward. It also looks like he might be a bit younger. Yes. Anyway, that's not too bad. So, yeah, we won't know what this host is like until it actually shows up. But, oh, there we go. There's the actual... oh, like I said, we won't know what it's like until it shows up. I've got some troops there already. If we'll march them across, and basically once they start engaging, because they will have a penalty for crossing, we'll raise our troops from Ross as well, which should give us a nice numerical superiority. And maybe they might have more ships, or maybe that's it. I don't actually know. They're not landing in France or anything like that, so who knows? I can get my daughter to stop being cynical, so let's do that. We've got those just 12 Irish retinue or troops or whatever, or vassal levies just obscuring all the action. Why? Oh, okay, I already stood down the other troops. So that's 13%, so they must have more. They must have another stack somewhere. Also, we have another bit of Wales, courtesy of the the Grand Republic of Dumfries doing their thing. Okay, there's the boats. Are the boats actually doing anything? Okay, we have more troops landing from the boats. Let's once again raise everything. And they'll be landing straight into our troops. Oh, now they're going to land into the Western Isles. Well, make your minds up. Well, whichever way we do this, we're going to be having a crossing penalty to attack them. So let's just group all our troops up in the Western Isles. Oh, no, there we go. I actually came ashore there. And once again, it's just those 12 men that are obscuring the thing completely. But even the troops that we had just there, barring the reinforcements which have just arrived, I mean, they're attacking from boats, which gives them a pretty bad penalty. That's 36% war score. Let's see, someone is betrothed. Oh, princess to a prince of the... Okay, I must have set that up previously. Oh, it's a matrilineal one as well, which is fine. I think I was hoping to set up, you know, maybe, you know, future Jedis in Byzantium, because why not? Why not? Or at least they'll have claims. You never know how it's going to work out with these kind of things. Right. Anyway, this has happened at last. We actually spotted this in the last episode. I have the Barony of Tatushi, which is all the way over here. This little outpost of Scotland. Yes. It's actually reasonably well developed as well. This does, however, put me over my my holding limit, so we're going to have to find somebody to actually give this to. Jedi of St. Gaudens. Youngish, leading troops. Yeah, let's raise him up. Why not? Grant landed title. Baron of Tatushi, there you go. Also, it's saying we can actually invest in some technology, so maybe we should do that. Okay, so we've got choice of town or church infrastructure on this side, and we'll go with town infrastructure to start with. And then in the culture advances column, tolerance or legalism? Legalism at this stage of the game still increased your domain size, but it doesn't work that way. these days, I don't believe. Popular custom might actually be useful. That's an extra 10, or is it an extra 2? It's not entirely clear. Anyway, it will give me better city vassal opinion, and the Grand Mayor of Dumfries is a particularly important vassal, probably my most important vassal. So that would be a good one. Majesty would just give us more prestige and piety gain. Tolerance and legalism, they have an effect. Tolerance is more useful these days because tolerance lets you implement equality laws if you're so inclined. So I mean, from a pure gameplay point of view, you have access as you go up through the equality laws. You have access to all of your court. So you might have a really skilled female courtier with a high martial score or whatever, and normally you just can't make use of them, but that means you can. So you know, I tend to in my playthroughs. But it's not quite like that back in this version. So, yeah. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Don't think legalism gives me... It would give me +1 domain size. But that's not a huge issue at the moment. But it might just be useful to have an extra... Okay, you know what? We'll go with that. That should bump us up to 6 out of 7. Yep, there we go. And the next time round, we'll bump popular customs up a level, I think. But that'll be a little while. So, we're only still at 36% war score. Okay, I've still got my Prince Bishop. Oh, that's why. They've spread themselves out down in France. Oh, that's quite... Okay, they had actually quite a lot of troops. So we've already beaten 2 stacks. That's quite a lot of event troops for a host. We already beat about 7k, and that's another 14k, roughly. If they'd all turned up in Scotland at once, that could have been a problem. It's one of those times when having the slightly more spread out lands has proved useful. So I have some options. I can maybe try and go and fight them, or I can wait for them to come to me because they have this event spawned big galley fleet which isn't actually costing them anything. Choices. Well, I'm going to take the possibly slightly riskier option of going to them, and we're just gonna raise, I think, most of everything. And oh yeah, we need the boats. Once again, I will raise my vassals' boats because that gives me more than enough boats. So, yeah, if I can tackle them one at a time, it's fine. And I can do it with just the troops I have available. But it's the point where I would need to start raising vassal levies that if they all turned up at once. Or if they all ganged up together. So, yeah, my plan is to try and just tackle them one at a time. And the guys in Paris I should be able to easily beat. But these two... armies we will have to beat together, more or less. Right. Oh, I meant to stop the boats off in Caithness to pick up that army first, but never mind. See, I was thinking that doesn't seem that many troops for a host attacking us, and oh wait, yeah, no, they're all in France. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe we will invest a little more in I'll take a risk. I'll take a punt and build the Shiltron training ground, I think. And we might regret that. That might just then count as money thrown away because we get in a character with a different culture and it just resets the building options. But we'll give it a go because it's slightly more troops from my primary holding. We might invest in Mitford a bit as well, because Mitford just has nothing. Let's go with basic castle walls, which cost very little. Right, so let's get all the troops ashore. I'll have to be careful where we attack from. I think Paris just has crossings to all. Yeah, we'd have to march all the way round to Orléans, maybe. Oh, okay. My hands and feet were bleeding. Okay, I can go, huzzah! It's a miracle, and get the zealous trait, which gets me 10 piety. Ah, screw it. Let's do it. Why not? Oh, and that has actually, because I'm zealous, that's bumped up my martial score and cancelled the ambition. So we now choose a different ambition. Let's go with intrigue, because intrigue will help when we're trying to bump off people. Stewardship's always useful as well, but intrigue in particular I think might be quite handy. Also, we've been called to arms by Byzantium, who wants to help us for the Holy War of Cilicia, and we're going to say yes, because like, what are we going to do? It has no effect on us whatsoever, but it does let us see what's happening in the region. So that might be interesting to keep a half an eye on. Anyway, we've landed our troops. Let's march them round to Orléans. Right, those two lots of troops have grouped up together, and that's more or less what we expected. But they're both groups sieging Dijon still. They're not marching towards Paris, which they might. Oh, yeah, there we go. They're starting now to. The AI's thinking about it. They probably will. So we need to, because the AI will go, oh, I have a superiority in troops if we can get there in time. But no, this is why you want to pick off the armies one by one. It's going to be a long march down to the south of France, though. Right, we'll disband those boats for now. No, why would we do this? We have good relations with the Grand Mayor. Why would we piss him off by smashing one of his trade posts? I don't know. That event seems a bit odd when it's one of your vassal republics, but anyway. So we've relieved Paris. And yeah, one more of the subjects of Paris is converted to being a good Catholic. So that's all right. I think this is going to be almost every... maybe Charolais. I don't think there's a river crossing from Charolais. I think that might be the best place to attack from then. I think every other province counts as a river crossing, so this is the best way to attack without penalty. So this should be a big enough troop advantage to ensure that we easily win. And then it's just a matter of a long march down to Foix. Prince Diogenes claims he'd be a better chancellor. He probably would with a score of 18. Oh yes, he definitely would. Sorry, husband, but yeah, he's just so much better than you. Yeah, there's a sentence that could be taken out of context. Not in a way that would make any sense, but you know, it could be taken out of context. Prince Duncan wants or has an event, and we'll make sure he retains or gets just. I think he already had just, but we could make sure he lost it. But no, just is a pretty nice one to have. Anyway, we beat that army. Oh, and we actually now have a 100% war score, so we can demand peace. And I could say off with his head, but for all that, he's still a Muck Jedi. Even if he's being a bit naughty. So, is that enough? I don't even quite have enough boats from... there we go, that should be enough. Yeah, we'll just banish him and that should be fine. Also, we have... Where did we ransom her from? I don't know, but or where do we? I don't even know where we captured her from, but I can ransom her, so we're going to do it. Yeah, we'll banish him, and and the positive effect of banishing somebody, people that start hosts, I think the game just gives them a big lump of money, so they can. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, we get to have 500 gold, so absolutely we're going to banish him. Aethne has trouble making friends. Help her along, I guess. Honest. Well, I think her intrigue was already terrible. Yeah, it was 2 and now it's 0. Well, that's fine. So, it's just a matter of bringing my retinues home at this point. And let's invest a little more money because we are sitting on a big pile of money right now. We're building in Mitford. Let's see what we can build in Bamborough. We might go for a keep. Yeah, levy size plus 20%. So pretty big investment, but yeah, we'll invest that gold that we got into more troops, basically. And we're just going to have more troops available now overall. Yeah, that's jumped up by about 400-ish. So that's not too bad. And otherwise, all is now peaceful once more within the realm, which is quite nice. Well, we are technically still at war down here, but it looks like Byzantium's doing rather nicely for themselves. Well, they called him Pisa as well, and the HRE. I wondered why I could see all these troops moving around the HRE. But it's because we are technically allied in this war right now. So, we've only covered about, what, 4 years in this episode? It's not a huge amount of time. I'm minded to wrap it up here, because otherwise I'd have to do a jump forward again, and this would probably turn into a rather longer episode. Which I know you lot wouldn't mind at all, but a longer episode it's a lot more kind of editing time and a lot more processing time on my end. So yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here because this has been maybe not the most exciting episode, but you know, like, not every episode can be a really exciting episode. It's just, I don't know, it's just the nature of the game, really, and the nature of history itself. Not every single moment in history was of vital interest and exciting importance, and also I've reached the point where I'm aware I'm just rambling and saying things that are more or less nonsense, so that's also a good sign that I should probably wrap it up here. So as Ireland once again dissolves into rebellion, yeah, Scotland 2 is looking really quite squeezed now. Yes, that's it for CK2 for now. Hopefully you have enjoyed this episode, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.